and welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always, here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go through a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. Today we're going to be going over Wrath of the Lich King Classic. I did sort of allude to this last week, but I didn't necessarily have time with the whole Evoker stuff. And I do want to put out a small apology for this being a little bit later than usual. My usual recording time, the power went out, so it sort of threw off the schedule a bit. But yeah, hopefully this should get out to you within a relatively reasonable time. But let's jump straight into the weekly news, as always. So the weekly bosses for this week are Arona Mornos. I always think I butcher that. Arona Mornos, yeah, whatever. Morgeth and Antros. So you have the Ardenweald world boss, the Moor and Seraph Mortis, respectively. And each have their own conduits, gear, anima. So make sure you get all of them done, get all of them downed, and get progress to whether it be the Jailer efforts or patterns within patterns for the Morgeth and Antros bosses. The brawl for this week is Shadowpan Showdown. This is where I think it's a 6v6. You're thrown into the Shadowpan arena, and basically you have a boss to kill, the enemy team's boss, and you have to be standing within the circle. Those who kill the enemy team's boss before basically win, and you can obviously kill each other in that arena. So you can first wipe their team, and then you can go for the boss, or you can go for the boss and just sort of respawn and keep trying to run this boss down and stuff like that. Warlords of Draenor Time Walking is your event for this week. The WoD Time Walking actually has some very good mounts and pets and stuff, so definitely head on over there with your Time Walk badges. Get your one dungeon done if you want the 500 Time Walking badges or a different Time Walking event, but some very good mounts to collect and buy with those badges if you wish so. The mythic affixes for this week are Fortified, Spiteful, Necrotic, and Encrypted. Fortified being where mobs in the instance, non-boss enemies, have increased health and damage. Spiteful, whenever you kill an enemy, it will become a spiteful sort of ghost, and it will chase after someone, it will fixate on someone and die slowly after 10 seconds or so. Necrotic, I'm pretty sure this is a tank one. Yeah, this is the tank debuff. Make sure you help out your tank by peeling for them. Tanks, just make sure you're aware of how much necrotic stacks you have, as your healer cannot heal through high stacks of necrotic. It is pretty much impossible. Encrypted is the Season 3 affix. I think this is the last week we will have this affix. Whenever you kill a specific enemy, it will give you a specific buff, whether it be haste, cooldown reduction, or movement speed, or damage reduction, sorry. And the spell that we're going to be looking at this week is kind of a spell, but it's also a totem. It is Earth Elemental. So Earth Elemental, I will be referring it to as Earth Ellie because it's just a lot easier to say and quicker. It was added in patch 2.0 back in 2007. A few months later, this pet, this is in patch 2.1, this pet will now come into the game with full health, including that gained from a percentage of its master's stamina. So basically it gave the Earth Ellie a bit more tankiness, and apparently it wasn't coming in at full HP, which is a bit weird. In patch 3.1, it got its next change. That was 2 years later. The summoned Earth Ellie should now have a significantly more health and slightly more armor. It now scales up in power based on the shaman's spell power instead of attack power. That makes sense, mainly because if you are elemental, you're not obviously stacking attack power, you're stacking spell power, so it does make sense in that regard. The next change was several months later in patch 3.3. The cooldown of this totem has been reduced from 20 minutes to 10 minutes, and it cannot be used in arenas, which makes sense. A 20-minute cooldown in an arena does sound a bit too good to believe, and it can just punch people and be annoying in an arena. So, yep, that's not too bad. A year later, in Cataclysm 4.0, the shamans or shaman are no longer able to required to carry around totems in their bag, and this is a general rule for shamans, mainly because obviously Earth Ellie was a totem and it was an Earth totem, and these took up 4 slots in your bag. You had Earth, Fire, Water, and Air, and yeah, it's just less bag space pretty much. So it makes sense that this change was quite well received, I would imagine. A few months later, the shared 2-minute elemental cooldown has been removed. Earth Ellie and Fire Elemental can now both be used at once. So this could be amazing. So you could have something to tank, you could have something to deal DPS, and then you could just heal the Earth Ellie. You are basically a 3-man group with these 2 elementals, which is absolutely insane. The next change came a year and a half later in Mists of Pandaria 5.0. The duration reduced from 2 minutes to 1 minute, and its cooldown is reduced from 10 to 5 minutes, so just half and half, very simple. About a year later, in 5.4, summoned Greater Earth Elemental will no longer taunt players that are in tanking specialization. This is just a quality of life change, which could be bad, to be honest, because you could use this to actually save your tank. You could summon the Earth Elemental and it would taunt the target that's killing your tank, and your tank could be one shot and die because your Earth Ellie won't taunt it. So ultimately, this could be detrimental sometimes. The second to last change came a year later again in 2014. Warlords of Draenor 6.0. It now deals 90% less auto-attack damage. I mean, that's pretty bad. But it generates 1,000% more threat. So that's something. That's probably just to give it, like, in terms of the numbers of threat. So if it was doing 300 damage per hit and it gave you 300 damage per hit in terms of threat, that's fine. But what it does now is instead 30 damage per hit, but 3,000 more threat, if that makes sense, because you're just timesing it by 1,000. So, it kind of makes sense, and the numbers sound a bit weird, but it all adds up. And then in patch 7.0, 2 years later, it was removed and replaced by Earth Elemental, which obviously is no longer a totem, and Earth Elemental is basically you call forth your Greater Earth Elemental to protect you and your allies. So nothing's changed apart from it went from totem form into an actual just ability, pretty much a good tank that you want. So that is the history of Earth Elemental. It's quite a fun and unique spell, to be honest, because you're literally just summoning a giant, like, massive rocks to come and protect you. It's actually quite fun. Same with Fire Elemental. You're just summoning massive, like a flame, a living flame, essentially. So it's really good. And it's something that I think shamans want in TBC a lot of the time, and that's what they were looking forward to with TBC Classic. But with TBC Classic obviously coming to an end, we are looking forward to Wrath of the Lich King Classic. Now, this is going to be so good. I started my WoW journey in Wrath of the Lich King when it first came out back in 2008. Classic was 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007 was Burning Crusade. Yeah, 2008, I think. Pretty sure it was. That is longer than I would like to think. It's 14 years. Oh my god, it's 14 years since Wrath. Oh my god. I'm getting nostalgic trips already. So, Wrath of the Lich King has had its date release, and that date is the 26th of September, so 2 months from now, just under 2 months. They leaked it before they actually wanted to announce it on their website and took it down very quickly, but yeah, the next day or two, I'm pretty sure they just said, yeah, it's out on the 26th. And they wanted to do that with the 50% XP boost. I will go over the 50% XP boost right now quickly. So basically, from now until, I'm pretty sure it's pre-patch, everyone has a 50% XP boost. This is to get any ults that you might want to level when Wrath of the Lich King comes out as a new main. This is just to get them through that sort of phase, that really tough phase. That for me is the sort of level 36-ish phase. And yeah, I've gotten through that on my priest, and it's really helped out. I handed in the Hemet Nessingwary quests, the Green Hills of Stranglethorn. I handed them in all 8 quests. No, 5 quests. It is. It's not 8. Yeah, I handed in all 5 of them quests, and that got me up about half a level. And that is absolutely insane, to be honest with you. So you really do feel this XP buff, and it is really, really good, and really is something that you want to make the most of before pre-patch hits. No one knows when pre-patch is at the moment, but with what everyone's sort of guessing and what my best guess is, we're looking at sort of mid-August at the earliest, and they say about 3 weeks of pre-patch. So it might be, honestly, the beginning of September. Anytime between mid-August, beginning of September, they will release the pre-patch. 3 weeks seems like a good sort of start of September time where you can start leveling your Death Knight and stuff. They gave 2 weeks for TBC, if I'm not mistaken, so it might honestly be the back end of my guess, which is early September. But with pre-patch, obviously you get Death Knights that come out, so you can make your Death Knight. There are no restrictions on your Death Knight, so you don't need a max level to make it. You can just hop on in, log in, make your Death Knight level 55 and go from there, and you can level it up to level 70 before Northrend and Wrath of the Lich King comes around. Now, Wrath of the Lich King, in my honest opinion, is probably the best expansion. It's tough. It's a very close toss-up between Legion and Wrath, but I think Wrath of the Lich King is honestly my favourite expansion. I was obviously quite young when I first played it, but what I'm looking forward to in Wrath is how the PvP is balanced. So, obviously, in an MMO, PvP is never balanced perfectly, but if you're looking at an MMO perspective on balancing, Wrath is very good in terms of how powerful every class is within their own right. Rogues are absolutely insane and mages are absolutely insane, but they're always going to be broken and busted. Just thought I'd try that little bit of shade out there to any rogue or mage mains. Yeah, everyone has their own unique strengths in Wrath of the Lich King, but they're also very good against unfavourable matchups as well. So a druid against a rogue can go either way if the druid's skilled enough, if the rogue isn't necessarily doing things perfectly. A mage against a rogue can be very volatile, and it can be very crazy as well. Warriors obviously get Blade Storm, they can charge in combat now, so warriors get a lot more versatility against mages, etc. So everyone's got their own strengths and weaknesses, but they're very... Skill can play a huge part in terms of actually winning arena games, because in TBC, if you were to come up against, as a mage, a feral druid, you have to 1v1 a feral druid because your teammate and their teammates have died. The chance of you winning that as a mage, you can win it, but if the feral druid is very competent and good, the chances are that druid should beat you, because obviously you can't do what mages do best, which is lock down targets with frost novas, sheeps, and stuff like that. It's a very tough to beat a feral druid, and in Wrath, it becomes a lot easier because you can frost nova and then instantly deep freeze, so they're stunned. You actually have a stun as a mage, and you can, pump out some damage and then run and stuff like that. And you've got a lot more utility to use against the classes that would ultimately be a lot tougher for you to beat in Burning Crusade. So that's why I kind of am looking forward to the PvP side of Wrath. But honestly, as a PvP player, I'm looking forward to the PvE content. So let's go over PvE content. It's obviously going to be in phases again. Up to, I think, phase 5. So with Wrath pre-patch, we have a 3-week Scourge Invasion event, supposedly 3 weeks, so that's why I'm kind of thinking it's going to be more on the latter side of my prediction, or early September. Players can make their Death Knights, obviously. Boosts will also be available for any of the classes, except for a Death Knight. They will have layers, they will reintroduce the layers as a sort of safety net for any servers that might crash for the influx of players that might come back. You have 1 week from opening Northrend to level before the raids unlock, which is very good. And dual spec is planned for the launch of pre-patch as well. Dual spec is amazing. For 1,000 gold, you can purchase dual specialization, and it just lets you switch between 2 specializations. And this is amazing. This is honestly such a life changer. You don't have to go back and forth to that damn trainer of yours and unlearn your talents, learn your talents, and do all that. No, you can dual spec. If you want to be a resto druid and a boomkin, do it. You can just switch easily. If you know that you never want to play feral, you don't have to. You never have to go back to your trainer again once you hit max level and have your dual talents the way that you want them. So dual talents is absolutely amazing, and it's so worth the 1,000 gold. It really is. So phase 1, these are the reasons why I am interested and actually excited for PvE content. Mainly because the people that I play with, that I would do the PvE content with, I enjoy their company and stuff. So that's definitely one of the big reasons why I enjoy the PvE content. But the raids themselves are absolutely amazing. Naxxramas, obviously, returning from Classic. A lot of people who played Classic and played Nax have a very good idea on how to do the mechanics, and it's just very simple. Some loot's been moved about and stuff, but honestly, it's absolutely amazing, and yeah, definitely worth it, especially going in there 10-man. It'll be something, and it'll be quite fun. Obsidian Sanctum, very good raid, very steady, nothing too crazy. It's just 4 bosses, or 1 main boss, 3 sort of mini bosses, and you have sort of different difficulties to it. Eye of Eternity, 1 boss right there in the room, kill it, get your loot, get out, very simple. And the Vault of Archivon, this is sort of a PvP raid. It's very weird, it drops PvP items, and it is only accessible if you control Winter Grasp. 4 bosses, you can get a mount potential with the Mammoth, but very fun, very not too crazy, but also not too chilled and just sort of 1 room. You know, you actually got to kill some mobs and stuff like that. Phase 2, we're looking at Ulduar. Ulduar being a super long raid and being a very fun raid. You have so many bosses, like 12 bosses. It's probably one of the longest raids in the game, and that's even in retail. To this day, it's still probably one of the longest raids. But honestly, the sheer scale of this makes you feel amazing when you're like raiding it, because there's so much to look at, there's so much to do and stuff like that. Ulduar, great raid, can't wait to get in on it with my guild. Phase 3 will have Trial of the Crusader and Trial of Champion, as well as the Argent Tournament dailies. This will be good as it gives people dailies to do, some reps to grind like midway through the expansion, and obviously another raid and dungeon, sort of catch-up gear, as it were. And then you have the big bad boy, Icecrown Citadel, and the Frozen Halls dungeons. Forge of Souls, Pit of Sauron, Halls of Reflection. I stand by what I say. These 3 dungeons, especially Halls of Reflection, can be deemed as some of the best dungeons in WoW. I will stand by that, and I will give loads of reasons why if anyone wants to argue that toss. But Halls of Reflection, you're literally fighting an opponent that you can't beat and you have to run. What other dungeon has you run away from the boss because you just can't beat him? He's too strong. Like, it's really cool. Again, it's just another mob fight, but you see him walking slowly towards you, the Lich King, and you just think, oh shit, I gotta kill this, I gotta kill the mobs quick, I gotta kill them quick, and stuff. It's absolutely amazing. Icecrown Citadel as well. One of the best raids, in my opinion. I remember killing the Lich King when I first started playing Wrath. I was only about 10, but I still remember that moment, and it was absolutely amazing. God, you just got all of the wings in there as well. You've got the like sort of abomination lit wing with Putricide. You've got the Sand Lane wing. You've got the Dragon wing with Sindragosa. It's very good, very non-linear. It gives you the choice of what bosses you want to do. It's just very good and such a good raid. If you've never raided it, like, as current content, there's not a better chance to do it. Everyone's very experienced with the game, and it will be very, very fun to do. And then finally, no one knows about Phase 5 yet, but it's either Ruby Sanctum will be in Phase 4 with the Icecrown Citadel, or Phase 5 will be Ruby Sanctum all by itself. Now, this one's a bit different, and I kind of hope they just release it with Phase 4, mainly due to the fact that just having Phase 5 as Ruby Sanctum isn't necessarily going to be that overwhelming. Like, you kind of ended the expansion by the time you get to Icecrown Citadel and kill Arthas. So Ruby Sanctum will be a bit of a sour taste in your mouth if that's how you're going to end the WoW Wrath Classic expansion. But we'll just have to wait and see on that. That is subject to change, I'm pretty sure. But Ruby Sanctum is literally just one boss, one dragon boss. Nothing really much to it. So Wrath of the Lich King, honestly, is shaping up to be so good. And it is, in my opinion, the best expansion in WoW's history. It just has a mix of everything, class design, like class-specific design, class balancing. PvP was very good. PvE was very, very good. The way that everything just worked, like, was perfect. You had wacky spells like Starfall that pulled absolutely everything in its path, which I have done already on the beta, and it was quite fun, I'm not going to lie. So many boomkins are going to do that, so tanks, you better be ready to pick up whatever's been Starfallen, or Starfallen? That has been hit by Starfall. There you go, that's the best way to describe it. But that is all for this week. Thank you all very much for listening. Again, sorry it was a bit delayed, I would say, but we got there in the end, and there was nothing really I could do about it. Please do check out all of the social medias down below. Check out Facebook, Instagram, absolutely everything. Check out YouTube. Twitch is currently going on. Loads of Twitch streams on the Wrath beta. We're going to be streaming the leveling through Wrath of Lich King when that comes out. We're going to be doing loads of Battlegrounds and PvP when the pre-patch hits as well. So definitely don't miss out on that. But yeah, thank you all once again for listening. And go with Valor, friend. Goodbye all.